Today we're going to talk about LLM marketing and how to gain visibility and tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, or Claude. My name is Viola Eva. I run a digital marketing agency called Flow Agency together with Helen. And to kick us off, I would like to understand, how do these tools fit into the search landscape and what role do they play?
They are a very interesting part of the landscape, and I guess we can say they disrupted search completely. Search is no longer what it was before the release of ChatGPT with search. They're a new search engine, essentially, that can be very personalized, very in-depth, very informational. It can be quite useful. I find that I myself uses ChatGPT a little bit more than reaching for Google search. And I think that they are a supplement, and it's not going to fix everything. You can't really go into ChatGPT and find like the local bakeries as easily as you can inside, say, Google search. But I think when people are doing research for like maybe a purchasing decision or for school or for work, they might opt to use these platforms. And so they become a more conversational kind of search experience as opposed to going to Google and just searching a query.
And I actually think the fact that they're so much more than a search engine also allowed them to attack Google and really position a new way of gaining information, which other search engines, being Yahoo, right, they never really made a stride against Google. And this innovative product was the first one that's really becoming a competitor. Maybe to set the stage a little bit. So Google is a ranking algorithm. And now what are the LLMs and how are they different from what Google is doing?
LLMs are similar to Google search in that there are a bunch of algorithms that are working together, that are trained on data, and that they're able to sort of generate a response. They lack any sort of ranking mechanism. And I think this is probably one of the most important things. A lot of people talk about, how do I rank in ChatGPT? You can't really rank. There's no rank. There are opportunities that you can appear or not appear, right. But in a matter of like, I always want to be first, that's not something that you actually can do because there is no ranking algorithm. That is something that's unique to search engines like Google.
And also help us understand in that landscape, what is then actually AI mode and AI overview? Is it a search engine? Is it an LLM? Is it both?
It's both. So Google took their LLM Gemini and blended it with their very sophisticated algorithms for search to create AI overview and AI mode. And that is why they have a different component to them. And a lot of people say you got to rank well in search to rank well inside AI overview or inside AI mode. Once again, I don't necessarily think that there is a ranking mechanism inside those, because I think that Gemini is the driver of that content. But appearing in Google, of course, will put you inside of their library and more likely to be surfaced inside the results. So it's definitely a play where you have to play the Google game and then you will appear inside Gemini, which is also with Perplexity. So Perplexity is grounding its results using Google search. And so right there, ranking well in Google will help you appear inside AI Overview, AI Mode, Gemini, and then Perplexity. And so that just kind of feeds into itself. And they're kind of quite connected.
And I think it's good news as well, because of course LLMs are very new to us, how we use them, how to appear in them. But us and a lot of other SEOs, we already know a lot about search and how it works. And so I think that's also good news for marketers trying to gain visibility and trying to understand what's happening there, is we can draw on our experience about content creation, appearing in Google to sort of like make some conclusions about where things are heading. Of course, how do people say what gets measured, that gets managed? And so I think there's a lot of curiosity in the market right now to understand visibility, measuring visibility, tracking visibility. Unfortunately, there is no search console from OpenAI, and OpenAI does not tell us what people are prompting or asking for. I don't know if they could, if they wanted to, with the length and detail of prompts that people are using. And so what sort of metrics do we have or don't have right now?
It's definitely a bit frustrating. We can't see what's going on. I think due to a lot of data privacy and the private nature of how people are using ChatGPT and other platforms, I'm not sure we will ever get that data. However, we are able to see if someone is searching something inside, say, ChatGPT, and there are sources that come up and they click one of those links. If someone then clicks that link and lands on your site, we are able to measure that through Google Analytics. Traffic from LLMs is referral traffic. So if you're in GA4, you look in your referral traffic and see their sources. You can find the sessions that come from ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, right inside GA4.
This reminds me, if you go to flow-agency.com/search-dashboard, the link is also in the show notes, you can track referral traffic in your GA4 with our free dashboard as well. Let's talk about some of the data anomalies that we're seeing right now. Because we have that referral traffic, we can measure that in GA4. But of course, there's sort of like a race or competition right now to develop the first LLM visibility tracker or LLM listening tools. And so there's all these third-party tools out there. And I would love for you to explain, like, what are these tools? What do they do? And then also, what is some of the weird stuff that keeps appearing in Search Console and Ahrefs and SEMrush now as a result of all these trackers being out there?
Yeah, there's definitely some tools out there. I know that Ahrefs and SEMrush have components in there to try to measure your visibility based on certain queries. There's also tools like Peak AI or Profound where you can enter prompts and then simulate responses again. And so in this case, similar to what we talked about in AI overview in another video you can check out, it's a simulated sort of thing that you want to get an average, and that's just going to help you. Are you appearing in the right things or not? But it's not real data, so we always have to take that with a grain of salt, but it can highlight areas where maybe you're not appearing and you want to be. You have a big category and you're not appearing on any list.
Right.
And so that tells us there's something wrong, and then we can go back and investigate how to fix this.
Nice. And I think we've seen, what do we see? I think we see now in the keyword databases, we see some of these keywords that start with like evaluate, or I have the theory with the is it. Like there's some weird queries now popping up in Search Console and the keyword databases that seem to be these trackers and not real people's queries. And so there's going to be, I think, a little bit of question mark in the next 6 months as to what is happening to our keyword databases with all this tracker data in there now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We were looking at some Search Console data the other day, and there were a bunch of queries that had these parentheses, and it was like, please search in the US, English only, and it was very systematic. That is not how a real person searches.
Right.
So that sort of signaled to me that that might be one of these trackers. I have no idea what will happen, but I do think that in the next few months, this might turn into a bigger problem for us, and that a lot of our traditional databases and sources that we're using kind of got tainted.
Absolutely. So to summarize this, right, is there's currently no quote unquote Search Console for OpenAI or Perplexity. But what we can measure is people who see you click on the link, come to your website. You can do so with our dashboard. And then 2, you can use a third-party tool like Peak AI, Profound, and all the others to track how often you're being mentioned. But there's a few caveats that come with using these trackers as far as accuracy, biases, and keyword databases go. Let's talk about the technical foundation for a second, though, is how do these AI crawlers work? How do they visit our content? And how do we make sure they can understand what's on our website?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of bots. So traditionally, we always just talked about Googlebot, and that was what we were most concerned with. Now, with all of these platforms, they can have anywhere from 2 to 3 different bots that are crawling your site for different purposes. So we have one that's used for training purposes. We have one that's used when they're grounding someone's search in with a search engine. And another one if someone is clicking on your link to go to your site. And so we have all these bots. And they can be blocked unintentionally from your robots.txt, so definitely check there. Make sure you're not blocking them if you would like them to visit your site and to serve your brand and your products inside their responses to people. The other component of that is that you might unintentionally be blocking it with Cloudflare or whatever firewall that you're using. There are settings there that can be blocking these bots, and you can specify maybe you don't want the training bot to come, but you want the other bots to come, and that you can specialize this and customize it. I would say at this point, you should be allowing all of the bots to crawl your site if you want to appear. If you're a business operating online, you want to appear in AI, you should allow all of them to crawl your content. You want them to be trained on your content. You want them to be trained on your brand so that when the next iteration is released, that it understands who you are.
Yeah, agreed. I think there's a discussion, right, that we need to have as a society about copyright and how creators and publishers compensated for these LLMs training on their information. But if you're a startup and you need visibility now, you need leads now, at this point, you'll probably need them to crawl your website and surface you. To that point, how much traffic are these platforms actually sending, and how is that compared to Google, and how is that changing?
From what we're seeing, it's about 1% to 2% of the traffic. However, I would say it's very qualified traffic. I think it's converting at a higher rate than organic. And of course, it's much less sessions, but as we were saying, people are qualifying themselves before they click through. They're doing all the research that they need to do, and then they're clicking. So they're learning a new way to do search. And yeah, it's while it's a very small part of that traffic, I think it's a very valuable component of traffic.
I looked into some data for our own website last week, and it was very interesting because when we look at GA4 or HubSpot, it seems like we're getting our conversions predominantly from direct organic search and paid search. But of course, direct is like, how did these people hear about us? Like, what makes them come to our website directly? We have a field in our contact form for self-reported attribution, though, where people, the question is, how did you hear about us? And there's no drop down, there are no predefined options. I want people to freely enter where they've heard about us or where they think they've heard about us. And it's very interesting when I do that and I analyze that. Actually, 20% of our qualified ICP leads now come from ChatGPT. And so to Helene's point, I think traffic numbers, we have 2.4% of our traffic is from ChatGPT, so it's not a lot. But then 20% of our qualified ICP leads. And so to that point, they're coming with very, very high intent to the website. On that note, just of course, we're like, okay, so we want this, right? We know traffic is low, conversions are great. So the big question is, right, how do I appear? How do I get there? We already touched on AI crawlers and enabling them. Another thing that's being tossed around a lot right now is schema markup. And I know that's a little bit of your pet peeve. And so let's dig into that. It seems like every article is telling you you absolutely need to have schema markup. And if you don't have it, you're screwed. And I think we have a bit of a different opinion. So I would like for you to unpack that a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Schema is one of my favorite and least favorite things in the world. I do think it's useful. So using structured data or a schema on your website specifically for Google is very, very good. It's very good because it allows you to get those rich results. If you want to appear in the little boxes at the top of the search results, then yes, structured data is very, very important. Structured data for LLMs is actually potentially not useful at all. There has been several people who've run experiments, including ourselves, taking a peek at this. And it's a potential that LLMs are not able to even parse and understand your structured data at all. And so I think a lot of people were looking for a quick fix, a quick win. Oh, let's just put some structured data. And they're putting a lot of effort into this when really you can just take that effort and put it on your on page, creating more content, being more specific in your content, especially your brand pages, your about us, your contact, your product pages, being very, very clear. And instead of, stressing about having the most comprehensive schema, just get a few blog posts up. The more content you have, the more you're going to drive traffic from AI. I think the schema was a potential, this is a quick fix. And so I would be very, very cautious in doing it unless you know 100% what you're doing.
I think internally we've talked about sort of like best case is do the schema, do it right. Sort of like second best case, no schema. Worst case, have schema but did it wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we see a lot of problems, that people put a lot of schema up, but then they have a lot of like technical issues stemming from that. And that's really not what you want. I think the AI crawlers have even less patience for that than maybe Googlebot has. And you just want to make sure you have a sort of like fast and easy, digestible page to present to them. The other thing that a lot of people talk about is references and listicles and sort of like best project management software tool and these sort of things. Why is everyone talking about listicles right now, and what is it supposed to do?
Sure, yeah. I think when ChatGPT first came out and it was giving citations, it was giving sources, it was very heavily focused on Forbes back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a big listicle sort of style articles. Eventually, that definitely went away. They kind of punished them, pulled them out of the results. But now, in place of that, they're pulling up all of these listicles from different brands, from different small sites, listicles for best project management tool, best time tracking tool. And it can get as specific as like the best time tracking tool for nurses. And there's like millions of listicles out there right now. And that's because the AI systems, it's very easy to digest that content. It's super easy. It's very straightforward. There's only so many ways you can describe a feature.
Right.
So it's taking that content and it's like, okay, here's a list, here's a list, here's a list. Let me compare all these. And it compares all those lists, and then it pulls out if your brand appeared in most of them, then it's going to select your brand. If your brand didn't appear in any of them, it's probably not going to mention you in its response. And so listicles have sort of made their way into our strategy because AI likes them.
We're sort of like killing two birds with one stone, I think, with the listicle. One is that building a digital footprint, having contextual proximity to the topics that you want to be appearing for, building that digital footprint. But then also, again, these software app platform queries, they're some of the most high intent queries, and they're also some of those with the highest likelihood of someone actually coming to your website. And so I think if you're spending your time thinking about LLM marketing, you probably want to put a lot of effort into project management software and not so much what is project management, because no one is going to come to your website for that. And so I'm very curious how this is going to play out, because there's good ways with collaborations and partnerships to make it onto some of these listicles, but at the same time, some of them are pay to play. And so, of course, everyone and their mother is now optimizing to be in listicles. So I'm sort of like curious how that landscape is going to evolve over the next 12 months. I think it's something that is working right now and yielding tremendous results. Is it our 5-year LLM marketing strategy? I sort of like want to put like a question mark behind that. Similarly, let's talk about Reddit and user-generated content, because I think that's the other thing that everyone is talking about right now. And I know you've been a Reddit user for a long time. We discussed it with the team. And so what is it about Reddit? Why do we care so much about Reddit and Quora right now?
Reddit is a very interesting tool. It's an online community of forums. Back in the day, we used to just have like one website for one topic, and they had their forum. Reddit came up and was like, hey, you can just make your forum here, basically. So lots of people, unpaid, created this entire network of small communities of people who are passionate about different things. In the last couple of years, Reddit had made a deal not only with Google, but with OpenAI as a publisher that is ensuring that their content is more visible on both platforms. And because of this, even though Reddit has been around for 15 plus years, 20 years or something, now people are looking at it because, yes, it's at the top of search results. It's appearing in AI Overview. It's appearing in ChatGPT. And so they're like, okay, well, if Reddit is being pulled in, how can I also appear on those pages that are being pulled in? I think it's a very specific type of strategy, and it should only be done if you actually know what you're doing. You've been involved in digital communities before, and you understand the nuances of that. The Reddit community can be quite harsh, and they're very protective of what they created. And if you're not going to play by their rules, they will ban you. You will get removed. You'll lose your accounts. You'll lose everything that you did. All of your content will be deleted. And so you definitely don't want to do that. But I think that there are other strategies. Some companies have a subreddit of their own. I believe HubSpot, Service Titan, a few others, where someone on their team is managing these communities. They're helping questions from people. They're engaging in other communities. They're posting content. Or there's other brands who may have someone like an ambassador who goes onto Reddit and goes into different relevant communities and post, but isn't being very salesy. That's the main thing, is like, you cannot be selling. You cannot be self-promoting. And that can be very tricky for marketers. It's a very, very fine line. to get involved. And yeah, I'm curious if you've seen Reddit appear as a source like throughout these platforms and how you are thinking about that.
Well, firstly, I want to echo what you said is if you take anything away from that, do not send your AI agent into commenting on Reddit. Like this is basically, I think everyone wants to have this easy, wants to have this automated. This is not an easy win. This is not one thing to automate and send your agent in there leaving a generic comment. I see Reddit come up more and more, which I think is particularly interesting because we do B2B. We also have a lot of clients that have a mid-market to enterprise audience. So you might be wondering, like, how does Reddit fit into the picture? It still appears, right? For bottom-of-funnel searches, people ask for pricing and conditions, specifically when you maybe don't have a public pricing and pricing is only revealed by the sales team. People still ask on these forum and communities for like price ranges. And so I think there's something to be said about you participating and being part of the conversation. But it is a quite manual job right now. But I think that's also why both Google and OpenAI are interested in Reddit, because it's unique content, it's human generated, it's very specific, it's very thoughtful. If there's only AI generated copycat stuff in there, like that's also not like valuable anymore. Like what's good about it is the specificity and the uniqueness. And so if you have a social media manager, a community manager that can participate in a thoughtful way, I think there's definitely an opportunity right now, but it's not a quote unquote easy win to set up.
What would you say to someone who maybe found someone talking not very nice about their brand on Reddit, or maybe they have a bad review somewhere? How should they handle that in the face of LLMs?
I think the sort of like brand management, reputation management is becoming a bigger part as well. And so I have always thought about responding to reviews that you're not necessarily responding to the review for the person who complained. You're responding for everyone else who saw the complaint and wants to see that you can respond in a mature and reflective way. So I don't know that you can necessarily change the mind of someone who is like hating you on the internet and leaving like a negative review. But what's important is that you show everyone else, I can admit mistakes, I can rectify this, I can respond. And I think the worst thing you can do is start fighting with someone in the comments. I absolutely do not recommend that, whether that's a review sites or Google Maps or Reddit. But I think responding, maybe also messaging them, depending on what it is, apologizing or making an offer could be a good move.
Yeah, I like that.
Let's maybe summarize some of the things we talked about, because I feel like it's been a whirlwind. Right, LLMs are here. They're the new kids on the block. More and more people are using them. They're sending more and more traffic. They're really starting to be a competitor to search and search-like engines. If you want to appear in an LLM, one, make sure the crawlers can find your content and your website. Two, do schema only if you do it well. And then 3, start thinking about your brand presence and digital footprint. Listicles are currently working extremely well for bottom-of-funnel transactional search. Place yourself in there. If you have the time and resources and sort of like finesse, you might want to start thinking about Reddit or other online communities to start contributing. But I think to maybe close us out, we can say it's like, if you're doing well in SEO and content marketing, you probably already have a big advantage as well. And so maybe as a last sort of like question or summary is like, what are the things that we've been anyway doing in SEO that do us well right now with LLMs and that are applying to this new world of search as well?
Yeah, creating content. I mean, content feeds the system. And so I think it's actually exciting time because it's a focus on unique content. The more your content is an iteration of everything else, as some SEOs have done in the past, creating content because they thought that's what Google wanted, we actually see visibility for content that maybe didn't necessarily do well in Google, but it's so specific that it does really well in AI. And so I think digging into those very specific questions, I don't know, go to your sales team, like talk to the events people, see what people are talking about and make content about that. Like don't even look at the keyword volume, just write it and apply SEO best principles, one concept, one idea talk it through. And I think this is the exciting part, that we can just still keep doing what we've always been doing.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's a great time for specific questions, originality. If you have an interesting point of view, now is a good time to talk about it, and it's a good time to be creative. That's it on this video for now. We have an entire series going on right now talking about the future of search and AI. So make sure to hit subscribe, watch the other videos, and if you feel so inspired, you can also check out our newsletter for monthly tips on the future of search, SEO, and geo.